I'm such an idiot. I always do this. Why did I take the 580? I'm gonna be late. Again. God, I'm so tired of being late. Maybe I should get off. Of course, no one's gonna let me get over, are you? No, of course not. Always acquiescing to everyone. I should just cut in. Just do that all the time. I do it about everything. And then I end up late. Ugh, you look like the Walking Dead. You look so pale. This can't be how I'm supposed to look. Why am I always so tired? Always so tired. I should go somewhere. I should take a vacation. Oh my God, it's him. Please don't see me. I look awful. Please don't look over here. What am I doing? It doesn't matter if he sees me. I am not in his league. That's for sure. Why don't I have to carry all my weight in my stomach? I look like Buddha, and I listen enlightened. I need to stop drinking red wine and eating cheese.
It's cancer. I just know it. It's in my family. My dad, uncle. I eat like a pig.
I want the kids to know how scared I am. It's like I'm all by myself. I don't know where to go.
I won't eat lunch today. Just water. What if David brought donuts again? All right, I'm not eating a donut. I'm not eating a donut. I love donuts.
I feel wonderful this morning. I love living in the city. And Scott, I'm so excited to spend this weekend with him.
Look at you. Happy people are so annoying.
Hello? Hey, Scott. I was just thinking about you.
Hey, you dropped this.
I'm willing to change. I'm willing to release my old patterns and negative beliefs. The power that created me has given me the power to create my new life. I choose positive, fulfilling new thoughts. I begin anew, right here, right now.
All of us are on a journey, whether we know it or not. We are all on a journey of learning to express our full potential in this world. Most of us have learned to view our thoughts as a reflection of the outside world, a reflection of what is happening to us. But what if that's not how the universe works? What if, with every thought you think, you are actually creating your present and your future? What if you are creating the story of your life with the very thought you are thinking now? Then perhaps, if we are willing to change the way we think, wondrous new possibilities would begin to reveal themselves to us, and our lives would move in a whole new direction. It all starts with taking the first step. Every thought we think and every word we speak is creating our future. It's as though our thoughts go out into the universe and are accepted and brought back to us as experience.
You become what you think about, whether you want it or not.
The thought that you are thinking is vibrational in nature and therefore attractive in nature. So when you care enough to take the time to change it from what you are terming negative to positive, you have shifted your point of attraction. Nothing is more important than understanding that.
That if you just did that one simple thing, of spotting the limitations in your thinking and trading those in for a positive new thought in that area, it'll eventually lead you to all the other stuff. It'll lead you through.
And how would our lives be different if we could cut through all of the static and simply choose in our lives what we would like each moment of each day, or our relationships, or our abundance, or our careers, or the peace in our families to look like? What would our lives look like if we could do that?
We're so busy on the cell phone. We're text messaging somebody. We're on the computer. We're on the internet. We're watching soap operas. Once again, we're looking outside of us. People don't realize their greatest potential because they think it's from an outside source when it's so divinely ordained within them.
Now, it's how do you turn that around? It starts with thinking differently.
You can be fully supported by the universe by following your dreams and your passions and your inner guidance.
Your willingness to contemplate yourself as a person who is capable of attracting into your life what you want, having the kind of relationships that you want, being able to have abundance where, scarcity always exists. All you have to do is begin the process by being willing to contemplate the presence of that in your life.
I started to be introduced to looking at the world in a different way. For example, through Louise's book, You Can Hear Your Life, which was very influential to me early on, when I thought, wow, there's something about the way I think that may be influencing what's happening in my life.
We now know that we can rewire our patterns in our brain with cognitive behavioral therapy or affirmations. It changes the way our brains are wired, and they light up differently. So it's not just this fluff, woo-woo stuff with purple, but it really has biochemical, neurochemical, neuropharmacological effects just as effective, if not more effective, than Prozac, Zoloft, whatever else you have. So Louise Hay, former model, former therapist, discovers something by observation that science supports decades later.
There's not one person here that cannot improve the quality of their life. I constantly do it. What I really ask for is how can I increase my understanding? Because the more I understand about how life works and how thought works, the better my life gets. I have just entered my 80th decade, and wonderful, wonderful things are unfolding before me. It's extraordinary. And I have made a decision that this decade is going to be the best decade of my life.
My life, as far as I know, was very good until I was 18 months old. And then everything hit the fan. And my parents got divorced, and I was put out into a foster home. And then later I came back with my mother, and then I was about 5 years old when she remarried. And she remarried what turned out to be a brutalizer. We didn't know that at the time. So the next 10 years of my life were very, very challenging. There was a lot of physical abuse and sexual abuse. I grew up in a family where really you were taught that you were no good, you were worthless, nobody loved you, and nobody would love you. And when you have that belief, then life gives you those experiences. I was raped by a neighbor at one point, and the man got 16 years for it. There was another neighbor that was after me. This was all when I was very little. And then about the time I became a teenager, my stepfather stopped beating me and started to have sex with me. And that was much harder for me to take. So I left home at 15. I knew nothing. I had no social skills whatsoever, but I was out of the house. I was starved for love, and anybody who'd be nice to me, I went to bed with. And so within a year, I had a baby. And I couldn't take care of the baby. I couldn't take care of me. But I found the child a really good home, a couple who wanted a baby very much and couldn't have one. And so I lived with them for the last 2 months, and I had it in their name at the hospital, and after 5 days I left. And what I did was I went back to my home, I got my mother, and I said, you do not have to take this any longer. You're getting out of here. And we both left. And we were together for almost a year. And then I said to myself, you know, she's okay, she's fine now, she's in good shape. And I took off. And I went to Chicago for 3 weeks and stayed 5 years. And then I went to New York for 3 weeks and I stayed 30 years and bumbled through life doing the best I could with the understanding and knowledge that I had, which was really nothing. I started out working in dime stores and things like that. And then when I hit New York, life sort of changed for me. And I became a model, a showroom model. And I'd had no education, so it was a very good job for me because I couldn't be a secretary or anything like that. And I did that for many years. I married an upper-class Englishman, which was a very nice experience. And I stopped modeling at that time. And we had 18 rather wonderful years together. And I learned a lot about life. And it was like my social training, because I had no social skills at all. And by the time we were partying, I had learned a lot. But when the divorce came, it made me feel very much like so many women feel, that I was a total failure and I couldn't do it right and everything was wrong again. And it was about 5 years later that I discovered this group called the Church of Religious Science, which was where I heard, if you change your thinking, you can change your life. And that is where my life really began to change.
We'll have all these speakers. We're all going to say the same thing, really, but we're going to do it in slightly different ways. And we want to, everybody wants to hear things differently. Just because I say something, some of you will get it, some of you will say, what is that woman talking about? But another teacher, or 3 or 6 or 12, can say the same thing that I'm saying in different words. And you go, oh, that's brilliant. Never heard that before.
I was living like a lot of people do, fairly unconsciously, but not aware of my unconsciousness, just kind of going through life and often feeling as though life was happening to me, that I was a victim to what was going on in my life. I was really like living in a comfortably numb place. There wasn't a depth of meaning in my life, and I knew something was missing, but I couldn't name it. We had a tax business. I, as a young girl, started apprenticing with my dad when I was 16. He had a business in our home, and we moved it out to a building. And in my early 20s, our business burnt to the ground. One morning, I got a phone call at 6 a.m. My mother called to say that the building was on fire. And when I got there were fire trucks and police and news reporters, and everything that meant anything to me was in that office. And I had a nice front office with a glass front that I could look into, and now everything was burning.
When I was 12, I was brought to Boston to essentially have my spine completely fused. And I remember looking up saying, I'm going to be a doctor and a scientist someday. And so I became pre-med at a very early age. So after working as pre-med, I started falling asleep a lot, up to 17 hours a day. They gave me a medicine, and the medicine started knocking out my bone marrow, and there wasn't another medicine that would